Greetings, vinyl community. Video number 37 or 38. New vinyl finds. As you can probably see, there's a new shelf in the background. So I've now doubled from 8 cubes to 16 cubes, so my record collection now looks a little bit smaller. Weirdly enough, but that's, I'm really happy with it. It's really cool to be able to not have to bend down and dig through. It's easier to access them, is what I'm trying to say. So Sunday afternoon here, I went on a bit of a dig with Andrew, Champ Sound, and Fred, Big Star 1000 yesterday. We went to a record fair, and then we went to a couple of different record stores around the area and went for lunch. So it was a really cool day, I really enjoyed it, got some really great records. Highly recommend going out, and if there's anyone in the BC in your area that you can meet up with, do it, because it's very cool to have people who have the similar interests in records and the same passion as you do, and they're into the same sort of music. You just can't beat that, you know. So yeah, we shot a video that was out on the street outside in a cafe on one of the busiest streets, so I'm not sure how that will turn out in terms of the audio and how loud it was and stuff, but anyway, keep an eye out for that video. So I'll show you, I've got 4 or 5 records that I got yesterday from the dig yesterday, and a couple that are on I got online came from the UK. But yeah, we'll get into it. So what you're hearing in the background, this is Don Cherry Here and Now. So this was recorded in 1977 on the Atlantic label. So this is a record that came out after Brown Rice, which I think was 76. So as you can probably hear, it's not really a standard sort of what you'd expect from Don Cherry. It's definitely sort of a world fusion jazz funk sort of record. Really cool. I'm really happy with this. It was shown, maybe I saw it in Van Sacrifant's video probably about 6 months ago. I'm not sure when the video, maybe the video's a couple of years old, but I saw it myself about 6 or 7 months ago, and yeah, I've wanted it for quite a while. Really good, amazing, yeah, worldy funk, jazz, I don't know, you can hear it in the background. I've played this through, this is the 3rd time I've played it through, this is the 4th time I'm listening to it since I got it yesterday. I'm really blown away by it. And obviously a really cool photo of Don Cherry there. So yeah, this is obviously a promo copy, US press. So yeah, really happy with this. There's not too many famous names in here. There's Colin Walcott, who plays sitar, and Michael Brecker, the only 2 names that I sort of recognise, obviously besides Don Cherry. Interesting, if you look on the Wikipedia page about this album, it only got 2.5 stars, so who knows what the guy who reviewed it was listening to, because yeah, this is sensational. Here and Now, Don Cherry, 1977. Wow, so happy. Okay, next up, this one came in the mail all the way from England. So this is What We Used to Know by Christophe El Torrente. So Christophe El Torrente is a New Zealand sort of hip-hop jazz producer. This is his solo album What We Used to Know, which came out in 2012 on the On Gravity label, which is out of Germany. It's quite hard to describe the music on here. I suppose it's like, I describe it as sort of like organic, electronic, jazzy, very earthy vibes. Yeah, I guess that's the way to describe it, with lots of hints towards Sun Ra. Like, I mean, a couple of, the first track on here is called Ra, and there's a track called There Are Words We Have Not Told You Of, which is obviously a hint to Sun Ra. He's got For My Son, which is, his name is Ra, funnily enough, is Sun Ra. And you can hear that, I don't know how to describe it, but you can hear that in the music. Yeah, it's just really earthy, electronic sounds. Yeah, it's very cool. What we used to know. So yeah, love that artwork too. So that's the name of the guy, if you want to Google that. Christophe El Torrente. Very happy with that. So yeah, that was Sean McRoberts in New Zealand switched me onto that record. He showed that a couple of months ago and I jumped on it, so thank you, Sean. You're my guy for really good New Zealand releases these days. If you show it, I'll buy it. So yeah, thank you for switching me onto that one. I actually might put it on because this side's just finished. That was the last track on the first side, by the way. So yeah, I'll put on this What We Used to Know record, and hopefully you guys like what you hear. Okay, so I will admit I have never really listened to Frank Zappa or the Mothers of Invention. I've never really gotten into him. I tried listening to Freak Out maybe 6 or 7 years ago and it didn't do anything for me. I feel like he's an artist that I should appreciate or should get into, so yesterday when I was digging yesterday, I came across the Mothers of Invention, Weasels Rip My Flesh. I knew that this record sort of hints a bit towards, there's a couple of free jazz and avant jazz elements that go into this, so I figured maybe that would be a good place to start. Obviously I adore this album cover. In terms of classic album covers, this has got to be up there, right? So this is a album that was released posthumously. So what's the one before that? I can't remember. Weenie something. And this is the second one that was released after the band broke up. So this came out in 1970. This is a US pressing on the Reprise label. So yeah, it's basically a bunch of outtakes or studio sessions that didn't get released, put together an album. But the stuff on here is really incredible. I'm really glad I picked this up. Ranges from some bluesy songs and moments and straight into some free jazz bits and pieces. Quite all over the place in a good way. Favourite track title and favourite track so far has to be Eric Dolphy Memorial Barbecue, which is obviously a hint to Eric Dolphy. I think had just passed away a few years prior to this coming out. So obviously I'm assuming that's a hint to towards Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch. It's obviously some sort of tribute, memorial barbecue. I don't know, you get the idea. Yeah, classic. This is really, really good. Stunning artwork. The Mothers of Invention, Weasels Rip My Flesh. Okay, next one. This is another record I ordered that came from the UK. Shout out to Andreas Antipas, Sonic Mainline 8. You might not remember, but you showed The Thing Boot maybe 7 or 8 months ago, and from there I took a cue and listened to some of their stuff. I'm sort of aware of them through their work with Nina Cherry. Anyway, I had a look on their website and I saw that they had reissued Mono by The Thing. So I think this came out in 2011 and it got reissued last year in a nice double vinyl. This is a really beautiful package. You probably can't see the front and the back. There we go. I'll float one of the labels so you can see. I hope you can see anyway. So yeah, really cool label. I should talk about the music. So The Thing are I think they're a 3-piece. Yes, they're a 3-piece. They sort of do free jazz, but not really. It's like very heavy free jazz. It's not about speed or precision. They're just very very raw and very like harsh tones. I guess it's more about like the power of the music than maybe like the speed or the accuracy. It almost sounds like heavy stoner sounds, like the drums sometimes take cues from that sort of stoner rock sound. To me, that's what I hear anyway. Yeah, this is really good. But they do, I think there's a cover of The Bridge by Sonny Rollins on here, and yeah, anyway, I should also say it's recorded in mono, as you probably would have guessed by the mono thing here. Yeah, this came out on The Thing, I think it's called The Thing Records, which is obviously their own self-titled label. I can highly recommend this one. It's just very heavy, lumbering, free jazz. Yeah, it's incredible. And of course it's on double vinyl, and they've done a really nice job with the packaging and the artwork, so highly recommended. The Boot is the other one that I highly recommend that came out by those guys. This was that couple, maybe that was more recent. That was maybe last year or the year before. What should we go with? Okay, so after the record show and after we went to a couple of record stores, on the way home I sneakily walked past another record store. Normally they sell, you know, $3, $4, $5, $6 records. They have a jazz section, but there's hardly anything in it. It's usually been picked over. So I thought, oh, I've got 15 bucks spare. Maybe I'll come up with something extra. You never know. Anyway, as I walked in, I went straight into the jazz section and I looked under the B's, and I could see that there was about 5 or 6 Art Blakey records, and they were all Blue Notes. They were the Liberty reissues, you know, the 1980s, early 1980 ones with the blue label. Or no, the 1970s with the blue label. And I thought that's really odd that there would just be 6 or 7 different Art Blakey records sitting there. And then as I dig through a bit further, I realised that there must have been someone's collection, must have just been dropped off, because there's, you know, 5 or 6 Mingus records, Art Blakey records, a few Ornette Colemans, there was 6 or 7 Coltrane's, Jimmy Smith records, like a lot of Jimmy Smith records. What else did I see? A couple of Miles Davis's, and you know, this is a record store that usually just sells like Benny Goodman. No there's anything wrong with that, but there's just Benny Goodman records everywhere, or a lot of the earlier big band sound stuff, which is what I'm not particularly into, and it usually is worth $2 or $3. Anyway, so yeah, I knew that obviously something had happened, so I got quite excited as I was digging through. And of course I wasn't planning to spend that much amount of money, so I had to narrow it down to two records that I couldn't put back. So I already have the reissue of this one, but this is the die-cut version, which, being a bit of a graphic design and record nerd, I had to get the die-cut version. So Fred, I will, yeah, that reissue that I've got already, that's yours, you can have that, and I really hope you enjoy it. As I've now got this, what seems to be an early pressing, on there it's got the red and green label. It's not the first pressing, which I assume will be the blue and green label. But yeah, I love this record. Obviously, I won't talk about the music, I'm sure I've talked about it in my previous video. Obviously it's a double quartet, so you get the left channel and the right channel of the speakers, and you can hear both quartets in each. And I like to switch off the speakers, one speaker, and hear each quartet at a time sometimes, and put it on, and you can hear them both, how they play together. And yeah, it's just a fascinating record in that respect. Yeah, just listening to this now in the background, this sounds like Massive Attack. It could quite easily be, you know, like Teardrop or something. That sort of sound. I guess it, yeah, I don't know. It's a great record. Next one, this was sitting there too, the Avant-Garde, John Coltrane and Don Cherry. So I often see the Scorpio Universal Music reissues, which aren't the greatest, hanging around, and I didn't really want to pick those up, and I found this original pressing here on the blue and green label, which is very cool to have. So it's actually Ornette Coleman's quartet without Ornette Coleman. So it's got Don Cherry, Ed Blackwell and Charlie Hayden, with John Coltrane playing sax, but they're playing Ornette Coleman songs. So actually, apart from the last track, which is Bemshire Swing, which is the Thelonious Monk song, but yeah, this is like I guess post-bop, a bit modal. You know, if you know what John Coltrane and Don Cherry sound like, it's just a really marvelous record. Weirdly enough, it says stereo on the top, but it says mono on the back, but it's actually a stereo record. Yeah, really happy to have the original pressing of this. And these two records, you can probably see they're in absolutely mint condition. US presses, so someone's taken quite a lot of care with them, so it's almost tempting to go back and see what I missed. Okay, last two. This is a Aussie jazz record, Vichy Soir, by Bruce Clark and Marion Kenyon. Aussie jazz with sort of Latin like bossa influences with bits of Fender Rhodes, and there's almost a couple of like classical. Well, there's some strings that sort of had that classical sound to it, I guess. Really cool. There isn't a year on this one, but I'm pretty sure this came out in 77 or 78. So yeah, Vichy Soir. It's actually got a recipe for the meal, Vichy Soir on the back, which is quite amusing. For you guys that love the Don Burrows stuff and the Australian all that jazz, yeah, this is another fantastic record. Very cool. Very cool. Alright, last one. Another album by an Australian artist, recorded in Melbourne. This is Oren Ambachi, Sagittarian Domain. So Oren Ambachi, I think he was born in Sydney and he's been making music since the late 90s or maybe early 90s, I think. So he generally does a lot of drone doom work. Like I think he's done work with Sun, or do you call him Sun O? So he did work on that Monoliths and Dimensions record and the other one that got reissued this year, or this year, Black One. He did work with that, and he does work with quite a few drone, or he's normally associated with that sort of stuff. But I know in 2007 he put out about 6 or 7 solo records, so he's very prolific. This one is Sagittarian Domain. Now this is not really drone or doom at all. It's almost like a industrial krautrock album. There's a really big beat that is very repetitive, sort of like your Noi or even like your Can beats that just drive. It's basically one piece. It's about 40 minutes that goes over 2 sides, 20 minutes per side, and the piece continues over. But yeah, it sort of builds up in this big beat. It's just running all the way through the piece, right down the middle, and you get little flourishes that come in either side of that, whether it's a bit of electronic, elements that come through. There's a bit of guitars that sit in and out. It's all very delicate but very powerful at the same time. It's very streamlined music. How else to describe it? I think that should probably about do it. Not many. There's no vocals, nothing like that. It's just it's very repetitive in that sort of drone sense, I guess. But yeah, it's like Fred. Alright, Fred, you probably really like. If you don't know, you probably know this record, but if you don't, I would recommend it. Oren Ambachi, Sagittarian Domain. Very cool. And that is all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Keep an eye out for the Champ Sound, Big Star 1000 and Rick James Buttery VC video. Yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thank you.